Slow fade in. We're live.
Yay!
Again for another weekly live aquatics Q&A with everyone's favorite aquatics enthusiast and video host, the host of the most.
This
Thomas.
guy.
Yeah, Thomas. And me, the video producer who's here just for really moral support and to help him manage all the technical issues. Usually not that well.
Because, put it this way, if there was a technical issue and Brian wasn't here, that'd be the end.
He'd get up and walk away, leave the stream running.
I'd be like, oh well, oops.
Yeah, you just see this for hours and hours. But that's why I'm here, for moral support and technical support. Mostly moral.
Both.
Yeah, I guess. So how's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah?
Yeah, man.
Last week we were pretty wiped because our kids didn't want to sleep or anything. I think we were both kind of having an off week.
Yeah.
How you feeling today?
Still pretty wiped.
Oh, me too.
It hasn't ended.
Yeah, right.
These kids just,
Fantastic.
they keep us on our toes and basically out of sleep.
Yeah, they do.
But hey, that's a part of the journey.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
Have to do it.
I don't love them any less.
Me either.
I just love sleep more because I barely get it.
You learn to appreciate it.
You do!
Yeah. And how's everyone out there doing? Hopefully everyone's good. Good to see everyone here. We're going to start answering questions shortly.
Yeah.
A couple things just, I'm going to start doing housekeeping right off the top, I think.
Cool.
First of all, make sure you give us a like. For everyone joining us, give us a like because that helps us out a lot. Share our stream on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, forums. I put the link in the chat here, you guys. If you could share that really helps us grow and helps people learn about us.
Yay.
And the more we grow, the more awesome content we can
Exactly.
produce. So that really helps us out. Next thing I want to say is right off the bat, it's best for these Q&As if you guys have general questions. Thomas is more than happy to answer anything. We'll try to get to absolutely everything. If there's something very specific to your fish, like an illness or something you've noticed, he'll do his best to help you out. But again, as always, it's best for those very specific questions to email our support team at head office. We have a whole team of aquatics experts that work there that will help you out. So I'll post that in the chat as well. But again, we'll try and...
Yeah, the big issue with them is there has to be a discourse. It's not just you ask one question and I have the answer. Like, I'm going to end up needing to ask questions. So our support team can do that. A lot of the time we need for illnesses, we like photos and stuff so we can actually help nail down what it is that's going on. So our support team is definitely better suited to help you with that kind of stuff. I'll probably, for most of them, give a generalized answer if I can. And then, yeah. we want to make sure you get proper help, especially if something's not doing well, sick, ill, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. Next thing, we have a new React vid that came out, I think it was just the end of last week. We had the new React vid come out. Yeah. I know a lot of people really like that series. I've seen a couple of people ask us about that already.
Really?
Here in the chat.
Wow.
So I'm going to link that video for you here in the chat. You guys check that out after the stream. But we really enjoy that series, and that new one out is it's like 17 minutes long or something. It's really cool. If you like that React series, I see a lot of people always asking, where do I send photos? Where do I send my videos? We like videos, by the way, just as much as photos.
Yeah.
If you have videos, send it to us as well.
Yeah, link us.
We'd love, send it, even if it's on a YouTube clip, I can always, if with your permission, rip that and put it in our React video. So send those to us. I'm linking that in our chat as well. And with that said, I think we're pretty much ready to jump into the
questions.
The Q's, and you can give your A's. So first up, can I keep PhosGuard in my canister filter since I'm going to remove Purigen on my planted tank? Last week you mentioned Purigen removes part of fertilizers. Does PhosGuard do too?
PhosGuard's going to remove phosphate. And you do want some phosphate in your water for plants. Plants are going to uptake phosphates and nitrates and all kinds of stuff in specific ratios. But if you have too much phosphate and you're getting a lot of algae because of it, and you want to put PhosGuard in for that reason, that's fine.
Cool. That was a very quick answer. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
This is a turtle question. I have a red ear slider that I think has fungus on the skin.
Yikes.
Will API Turtle Fix help this?
Okay, so here's based on my understanding of API Turtle Fix, I think it is mostly a topical type treatment. I'm pretty sure you just add it to the water, but it's to help with healing and also to help prevent secondary bacterial infections and prevent fungus by healing the wound before fungus would ever take hold. So if your turtle already has fungus, you may actually have to medicate with an antifungal, and I'm not sure that the API Turtle Fix will work in that instance. Not 100% familiar with the product though, haven't used it myself. This is based off of what I've read about the product. So what I would suggest is, first off, let's make sure that it is a fungal infection and not just a bacterial infection. Send us a photo to our support team, like Brian mentioned earlier. Give us all the information on the aquarium, how often you clean it, does the water smell, have you done any tests on the water recently, did the turtle get some kind of burn from a heater, like what? We got to drill down what happened and then try to figure out how to solve it for you. So reach out to our support team and we'll do what we can. Yeah,
I just linked that again in the chat, so feel free to do that. Next up, 10-gallon saltwater tank. Need skimmer or don't need?
Okay, here's the thing. I don't think any saltwater tank technically has to have a skimmer. What a skimmer is going to do is help essentially push off the amount of water that needs to get changed and how often you're doing that by removing dissolved organics or liquid form of organics in the water, like proteins, before they break down any further into nitrates and ammonia and all that stuff. So if you don't have a skimmer, you can expect to do water changes more frequently or have to do larger water changes. If you do have a skimmer, that should help prevent the amount of water changes you're going to have to do. But with a 10-gallon tank, if you're changing like 2.5 or 3 gallons of water or even 5 gallons of water once a week, you're not going to need a skimmer. Not unless you make a big boo-boo.
Cool. I love your content.
Yay!
About aquatics.
Yay!
Made me join the hobby.
Yay!
That's super cool.
Exactly our goal. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah. Welcome to the hobby.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Are barbs compatible with angels?
Some barbs are. I probably wouldn't put like tiger barbs or any of the more aggressive barb species in with anything other than other barbs and larger fish that will defend themselves. Angels might do okay, but they're also kind of slow and have nice long fins, and the barbs might have a good go with them. I would say like cherry barbs would probably be fine. Rosy barbs would probably be okay. Maybe gold barbs. Oh, like Demisoni or roseline sharks. Those barbs are awesome. They get a little big, so depending on the size of your tank, but those are good options, I would think.
Cool. Hi from Greece, guys. Good job. My aquarium is full of snails.
Yikes.
Ramsden, I think I want to buy
Botia loaches.
Okay, yep. Yeah, but I have corridors in my tank. Is it possible the Botias don't beat my fish?
It's always possible they won't. It's also possible they might. If you don't have plants or other invertebrates in your tank, you can use a product like cupramine, which is copper-based, and it will kill snails. Obviously, you want to follow the directions to make sure you're not putting too much in the system so it doesn't hurt your fish. Cupramine is actually a pretty common fish medication for things like ick, etc. But it kills inverts, so it will definitely work on snails. And then you can use carbon to remove whatever cupramine is left in the system. But if you have plants and other things, I would be like shrimp or crayfish or what have you. You don't want to use cupramine. It'll probably cause more harm than good at that point. So for Botia loaches, I think a yo-yo loach or something similar is probably your best bet for the snails and might not mess with the quarries too much. I can't guarantee how a fish is going to behave. I've seen situations where Botia loaches don't harass anything else, and I've seen situations where they do. I've seen tanks where, you know, ruby sharks don't beat everything up, and tanks where they do. So that dynamic is hard to predict sometimes, but if you're worried that there's going to be a negative interaction, I would suggest against it.
Dwarf gourami tank mates.
Cool.
And I was asking, like, dwarf... Oh, sorry, that was my fault. Dwarf gourami tank mates?
Yeah.
And can I mix angelfish with neon tetra? Thanks.
Dwarf gourami... Lots of things can go with dwarf gouramis. Like, color your world. All kinds of stuff. I would put anything from small tetras to live bears, rasboras. There's all kinds of small fish you can stick in there. So my suggestion, which is usually my suggestion, everything's subjective, right? So go to the store, see what they have, ask questions while you're there with the staff, and you'll see what looks best to you and what kind of fish you think you might want to put in the tank. The other half of that was what?
The other half was, can I mix angelfish with neon tetra?
Oh, that's right. Okay, so here's the thing. Young angels and, you know, decent sized neons and they grow up together probably be okay. I've seen instances where adult angels, then you throw in small neons or something like that, and the angels do what bigger fish seeing little fish that might fit in their mouth do and try to eat them. Even if they don't fit in their mouth, they might go around and just kill all the fish trying to eat them, which sucks. So be careful is my answer in that regard. possible. I've seen it plenty of times, but it can go south, especially if you've got big angels and little fish.
All my fish are swimming at the top of the tank, and then like 3 hours later they die. Any help, please?
Yeah, there's a problem, and we need to drill into it. So usually when fish are swimming near the surface of the water, it's because they do not have enough oxygen in the tank. That can be caused by all kinds of different reasons. The water's way too warm, so the oxygen level is much lower. Therefore, they're gasping at the surface. There could just be a lot of CO2 being produced by the fish that are in there from overpopulation in the tank, so too many fish. The tank hasn't cycled properly yet, so there's other things going on in the tank which can also result in lower oxygen levels and higher CO2. Long story short, something is going badly, and especially if they're dying, like that's not good. So reach out to our support team. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions, probably about your water chemistry, like if you have a test kit, if you're doing tests on things like ammonia, pH, hardness, nitrates, etc. So get in touch with them. Let's figure out what we're doing wrong and then see if we can get you on a course correction so that you don't have fish perishing on you, which is awful and it's totally terrible.
Yeah.
It sucks. I feel bad for people whenever they've had a situation where they've lost fish, because having been in that situation as a early hobbyist myself, it is painful. Nobody likes to see that.
Painful and frustrating.
Let's get it fixed up for you. Reach out to our support team. We'll figure out what's going wrong and get you headed in the right direction.
I have a bed of fish that I did a saltwater dip to.
Is it better than mine? I'm sorry. Okay, keep going. I'm a father.
I almost quit. I almost quit.
Right there?
Yeah. Okay, so I have a bed of fish that I did a saltwater dip to. 2 of my bed of fish. What do you do after? How long do you leave them in a dark space for?
I don't know why you did a saltwater dip. I've never done that ever to any fish. So I'm assuming it's a practice that is uncommon in North America, perhaps, or maybe I've just never had the issue in which that would be the solution.
Yeah, let us know in the chat what your reasoning was, like why you did it, and then maybe you can kind of delve into it.
I'm thinking, I don't know. I know like on saltwater fish you do freshwater, people have done freshwater dips to help knock parasites off of the fish, like marine ick, for instance, because parasites rapidly deteriorate if you take them from saltwater, like marine parasites, and put them in freshwater. It bursts sensitive vessels in their body and membranes and stuff. But yeah, I have no idea.
It says fin rot and my fish was sickly.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of doing a saltwater dip for that. So I don't know. You've given me something to research because I've never heard of that, which either makes me naive in some way or just out of practice. I have no idea. Either way, thank you for letting me know that is a remedy that somebody's come up with, and I'm gonna have to read about it and get back to you on that at some point.
Cool. Yo, how do you get convict cichlids to not breed, and what do you do with the babies?
Well, you can, to get them to not breed, separate them,
that or works, yeah.
Keep 2 males or 2 females. That's your options. 2 males might not like each other. 2 females may also not like each other. But if they're breeding, they're going to keep breeding. Things do that when they're happy. And
circle of life, man.
What do you do with the babies? You could do whatever you like with them. You can rear them. You could use them as, and this is probably not going to be a popular answer, feeder fish for other fish. There's all kinds of things you can do. But if you want them to stop breeding, you have to separate them.
Fair enough.
They ain't going to stop. They like each other. They're going to keep trying to reproduce because that's what biology is telling them to do.
The person who did the saltwater dip for their betta said that they were just doing research on YouTube, and someone on YouTube told them that for, I guess, fin rot.
It's entirely possible that it's a remedy.
What would you do for fin rot?
Depends how advanced it is. So there are lots of different medications you can use for fin rot. I usually start with something like Melafix or Pimafix as a first line of defense whenever I notice something. Because if you catch it early enough, Melafix and Pimafix aren't really true medications. They're kind of like a step between doing nothing and medicating fully.
Okay.
And they often will work if you catch whatever it is early. So I've been fortunate enough in the situations where I have dealt with fin rot that I did catch it very, very early. I look at my fish every day. I hand feed most of my systems and stuff, so I have that moment where, and I talk about that a lot, where hand feeding daily or multiple times a day is great for that exact reason. So I've been fortunate enough to catch it early most of the time, but salt can help and is used, like some people will put salt in their aquariums because it will help bring fluids to the bad parts of the fish. So if there's an open wound or an ailment, it will help the fish internally bring the correct fluids to those spaces. There's a very technical term and way to explain this that I am just incapable of remembering at the moment. But salt is good for that reason. It also helps with their slime coat and encourages it. So using salt medicinally is not something new to me. Using it in a dip is something I haven't heard of, but interesting.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it would be useful. I'd love to see where you saw that on YouTube. Maybe we could just have a look. If it's something that does help, I'm sure he'd be interested to learn more about it. So if you know that video, link it to us. I think we'd be
I wouldn't mind watching it. And if you don't link it to me, I'm just going to look it up later anyways. I'm sure I'll find it.
Yeah, fair enough. How do you clear off cloudy water naturally?
Cloudy how? What color cloudy? Gray cloudy? Yellow cloudy? Green cloudy?
They don't specify.
Particulate cloudy, like you can see dots in the water. It's not a color, it's stuff. Because there's a different answer for each one of those. Okay. Get back to me in the chat, and we'll
keep an eye out, Adele, and I think we have Josh, our video host, our other video host and aquatics expert. I think he's hanging out in the chat right now, trying to answer some questions when he can. So Josh, again, obviously, if you have any insight, let us know. Awesome. Next up. Don't forget to hit the like button. That is right, Josh. Don't forget to hit that like button. It would help us out a lot, so please do that. Any fish the age-old question. Any recommendations for a 6-gallon or a 20-gallon or whatever? Again, these are all totally up to you, but if you had to suggest like top 3 fish for a 6-gallon, can you narrow it down to that?
Yeah. Endlers, because I love endlers. Guppies. 6 gallons. White clouds. There's a long list. If you wanted to, you could probably just put like 1 banjo catfish in there. They're one of the most boring fish in terms of what they do in an aquarium. They're not a whole lot to watch, but they're super interesting looking. Look up banjo catfish.
Cool. Next up, okay, how's your big aquarium with the pretty cabinet stand doing? The one you did a build video. Sadly,
that aquarium never made it out to Nova Scotia.
Yeah, for those of you who may not have been joining us for quite a while since that video, we both moved provinces, so we're quite a ways away from where we used to live.
Yep.
And I know for you, bringing that entire setup several provinces over would have been
cost me almost as much as the tank cost me. Like the value of the cabinet, tank stand, and canopy to get it out here as it would cost me to just buy a new one. So long story short, it's got a new owner who is doing different things with it than I did. The fish that I had in that aquarium went back to a couple of our store locations, as well as some of my personal prized fish in that aquarium went to friends of mine who are babysitting them for me. Potentially forever if I don't ever get that other big freshwater setup here. So we'll see what happens. But long story short, the fish are in good hands and the aquarium itself is in a new happy home. But the flip side of that is now we get to do another big build.
Yeah.
So there is a positive. We get to have that fun all over again with a new system.
And that is on the horizon. It's coming quickly. So keep your eyes peeled. We're excited for it. Okay, we have a follow-up on the cloudy water.
Cool.
Cloudy as in gray cloudy. I can see through it, but not that clearly.
Okay, so grayness is usually, or white cloudiness or gray cloudiness is usually a bacterial bloom. So either the tank hasn't fully cycled yet, it's newer, and within the next 2 or 3 weeks, it should just clear up, essentially crystal clear. The other option is maybe you did a really big water change or cleaned your filter and did a water change at the same time and you lost some of the bacteria in your system. So you're going through a small cycle and a bacterial bloom as a result. Again, the biggest remedy or the most common remedy is just waiting it out because it will go away on its own if it's bacterial. But if you want to try to push it along a little bit, you can use a bacterial additive like Seachem Stability or Big Al's Biosupport or Cycle. Lots of different options out there that'll help speed that along.
Now this next question, I think we've answered a few times, so you know, you can kind of give, I guess, a more brief answer. Are UV lights so important on reef tanks? I have all filter medias, skimmers, and Chaeto reactor.
Cato.
You got me.
I ruined you.
You did.
Oh.
You're like the main person. I don't, you know,
it's not your fault.
Say it all the time.
I sent you down the wrong road, brother.
You did, man.
Okay, so UV lights are not 100% necessary in my very humble opinion. So a UV sterilizer has a benefit on a reef system, 100%, or on a saltwater tank in general, 100%. One, you will never end up with a algal bloom in the water column. Not that those happen often in saltwater. I almost never see them. But it will help any algae that divides or spreads via spores in the water. It will help mitigate that. The other thing it's supposed to do, and will do if you get a strong enough sterilizer, is help kill small parasites, microbes, things like protozoans, bad stuff. Protozoans, are they bad? I don't remember. Anyways, so they're gonna help kill small multicellular organisms that could potentially hurt your fish. Here's the thing. The UV sterilizer cannot discriminate between something floating in the water that's good, like plankton, and something that's floating in the water that's bad, like marine ick. So you kill everything. Everything. It all goes. Some people, that's a good thing. They'd rather have nothing in the water and then add what they want. Other people, like myself, sometimes don't think that's the greatest idea, and that healthy fish will generally remain healthy as long as you keep the water parameters in check, and will fight off things naturally like they do mostly in the wild. And I would rather have all of that microfauna and flora in the aquarium that's helping to feed corals and balance the ecosystem and so on and so forth. So you don't need one, but if you're having issues or you are, you know, maybe you have a fish only system that has really pricey, expensive fish, and the investment of a good UV sterilizer makes sense in that situation to you personally, then that might be a good reason to get one. I'm not saying you shouldn't run one on a reef tank. I'm saying I don't usually unless I really have to. That's my answer.
Awesome.
My convoluted answer.
We got there. The next one, okay, starts off by saying maybe a better question for support team, and it totally is, but we'll see if he has any input. My bronze Quarry has seemed pretty lethargic lately without any visual abnormalities. Could this be caused by my water change being a day late?
Yeah. I mean, technically it is possible.
I wouldn't think, like, someone who's not... I didn't know water changes were that dependent where even a day can...
Yeah, no, I don't think that's necessarily what's happening here, but if we're going to ask the question, it is possible. Let's say you've got a situation where your nitrates or something hit just a really uncomfortable level for that Quarry one day after you usually do your water change. Just happens to be that way. That might cause your Quarry to act differently. I think it's more likely a temperature thing. Fish will, if the temperature drops, let's say, fish may become more lethargic. If the temperature raises, usually see them get a little bit more frantic before they start getting lethargic from lack of oxygen. But I would say take a look at, like, maybe you've got the tank near a drafty window or doorway and the season's changing and it's getting colder, possibly. I don't know where in the world you are, but possibly the cooling of the tank could cause that. My thing is, if you put food in the tank and the Quarry goes, yes, and eats, you're in a good place. If your Quarry's just decided it's not eating anymore either, that's when things get more scary, because usually a lack of appetite in fish is an indicator that something more complex is going on. Something else is bothering your fish to the point where it's not willing to eat, which is not normal. A hungry fish is a healthy fish. It's a really good standard to go by. So if your fish has decided it's not eating right now, then I would definitely be more concerned. But yeah, reach out to support, give us some more information, maybe answer some of the questions I just asked you, and they will help figure out what might be going on in your aquarium with your Quarry.
Are mollies true freshwater?
No, they're brackish.
Okay, cool.
You can actually get them to go full fresh or full salt as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they are a brackish fish. Cool. Black mollies are a good example of that. And you can easily get them to go full fresh. Most of the time when we get them in the hobby, they are full freshwater. They've already been transferred over to a full fresh environment. They will breed in full freshwater. But you can also very, very slowly raise the salinity over a period of time until they hit like a reef tank level salinity. And you can put them in a full saltwater tank at that point. And they are actually phenomenal little algae eaters. And I've used them in the past for that. Just pro tip, I guess.
Neato. When is the next reaction video on fans aquariums? Yes, I've received it. I've received your submission. I've received a lot of submissions. We have, like, no joke, we have
hundreds.
I think we have right now, as it stands, about 154 submissions.
Holy.
So it's not like hundreds and hundreds, but it is a lot.
We're 50 away from hundreds.
Each episode runs, pretty long. We maybe fit 5, 6, 7 in each episode. So to get all those 150 done is going to take a while.
You know what we should start? Maybe we shouldn't. How would you guys feel if we had a part of our live Q&A segment where we brought up like 1 or 2 of those submissions and I quickly talked about them in the middle of the
we talked about like doing like live versions of that because it would help us cycle through and get you seeing these people's aquariums and reacting to them a lot faster than the filming process, the editing process. It really does take a lot of time with all the other stuff we're doing. So maybe we could do something like this where I bring up on the screen an image and you react to it live, and then that video is of, I don't know. We'll
figure something.
We'll look into it. But yes, I did receive your submission, and guys, I did link my email address. So if you have your own aquarium, you want him to react to it, send it my way. Next up, I bought a red Ludwigia. I can't talk now. I bought a red Ludwigia.
You have one job, Brian.
No, I always seem to. I bought a red Ludwigia while following your Planted Tank series. The leaves are melting off.
Not good.
Do I just be patient, or did I buy a high-tech plant by accident?
See, here's the thing. Red Ludwigia could be probably a few different species, but I'm not even sure, if I'm going to be honest. I would have to know exactly what species of Ludwigia it is, but that said, I've kept Ludwigia, and even people in our office have kept Ludwigia in super low light conditions in like filthy tanks, and it grows well. Doesn't grow nice and compact with leaves close together and really, really rougey as it would in a high-tech system with high lighting, but it still grows. Like, it doesn't die. This stuff is pretty bulletproof. So I think was it Repens? Ludwigia Repens?
Yes.
I think it was that I talked about in the series.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yes, okay. It was.
So, anyways, one thing that can happen when you get live plants, when you've purchased them, if you damage the root system while planting them the first time, or just the change from one tank to another, if the pH had a big swing or something like that, sometimes plants can melt back. It's not impossible that a plant will lose a bunch of leaves and then just grow them back. Not necessarily in the same spot. With stem plants, you usually get top growth as bottom leaves melt off. So if you're getting your lower leaves just kind of melting away, and the top leaves are still doing okay and you're still getting some growth there, that's actually super normal for stem plants, especially in low light conditions. So if that's the case, I wouldn't worry too much. Just let them do their thing and it should resolve over time. When the stem itself starts melting is when you really have an issue. A Ludwigia can lose a lot of leaves and still grow from the top and do fine. And when that happens, it's in adjusting to your aquarium, what you'll end up probably wanting to do is chopping off the Ludwigia right where those leaves, where it's still growing, right below them, you'll start seeing off the stem of the plant just roots coming out. You just go down a nodule, cut under those roots, and you can plant that Ludwigia back under the gravel so those roots are attached. That's basically how you deal with that. I'd be willing to bet that you've just got some die-off on the bottom. But if you want, give me an update and let me know if I'm on the right track or if you're getting leaf die-off like everywhere and it's just naked and the stem's rotting, and then we'll try to figure out something else.
Go from there.
Yeah.
Next up, why does window light create green algae in freshwater tanks? What product can I use? Because
the sun is amazing at giving plants the ability to photosynthesize. Nothing is. It's like a Formula One race car versus a smart car. The sun is a Formula One race car, and your plant light is a smart car.
Very apt analogy.
It's the sun, man. This is what it does. It grows plants, and algae is a plant on the most basic level. You got to put blinds on that window. You got to shut the window so it doesn't give light to the tank. That's what you got to do. That's your basic option. You can also try testing your water for nitrate and phosphate, and silicates technically, but let's stick with nitrate and phosphate. And if you have elevated phosphate and nitrate levels, you have to do water changes and try to bring those levels down as far as possible to 0 would be ideal. And that would give the algae a lot less to work with for growth. But if you have live plants, that's not really feasible because your plants are going to need phosphate and nitrate to grow. So
I keep freshwater fish, but thinking of dipping my toe in salt.
Yay!
Do you rate all-in-one units, like, for example, Fluval Evo C?
Do I rate them?
I guess, how do you rate them? Like, do you like them? Are they good, like, for someone who wants to dip their toe in salt water?
I think all-in-one systems are a great way to start off for a multitude of reasons. Some may argue that it's not awesome, but I'll give you that argument after. So what I like about all-in-one systems is they tend to give you all of the basic things you need. So the actual aquarium, your filtration, which is behind a wall. They usually have surface skimming because of how they're set up. It's like having a sump built into the back of the tank. The return pump's already there. A bulk of the media is already there. They often have a decent enough light to start off if you wanted to start with some soft corals or something at some point. And a lot of them, like BioCube, the LED BioCubes and stuff that came out, they're good enough that you could keep LPS corals in there, some easy SPS like Montipora and stuff. Anyways, they give you all the basics that you need. Most of them won't come with a skimmer, so if you wanted to do protein skimmer, you do that separate. Most of them won't come with extra circulation pumps, which if you're going to get one, I highly recommend the Akamai pumps. They're awesome. The KPS, the small version, is perfect for something like the 13-gallon Evo. I think it's 13 gallons. But yeah, so they are definitely a decent way to get right into the hobby and start off without blowing too much money on like a big fancy system and having something a step above just like a starter kit, like a 10-gallon tank and then building it yourself. You'll usually spend almost the same amount of money doing it either way. So the argument that's often made is that most starter kits are pretty small. And when it comes to saltwater tanks, starting small can be more difficult. Just like in freshwater, starting small can be more difficult because there's less water volume. You have less options for fish. You have less options for, livestock in general. A small mistake in a small volume of water is a lot bigger mistake than a small mistake in a large volume of water because of dilution. So it can be more of a challenge. So a lot of people in that regard would be like, you should just get a bigger tank to start off and, do it right the first time. I'd argue that I've been doing nano tanks and not technically Pico, but nano tanks like 10 years. And I love them. I almost never do large systems of saltwater. I love doing nano tanks. They're easier to fill with coral, less expensive in that regard as well. So yeah, I think they're great. And if you wanted to get your toe wet, just the toe, I think an all-in-one nano tank is an awesome choice.
Awesome. The gentleman who was having the Ludwigia melt says, thanks very much for the help. You're right. I'm getting die-off at the bottom. The tops do appear to be sending out leaflets slowly, and there are roots starting to appear halfway up.
Yep. It's exactly what I said. I'm glad I didn't steer you down the wrong path with my Ludwigia suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit of maintenance, and this is something that happens with stem plants. The undergrowth of stem plants will die off, and you'll end up with stem and roots. So they're a little bit more high maintenance in terms of a low-tech plant because you will have to pull them out, cut them off, put them back down on the bottom, let them grow up again. This is a cycle that will happen. So one thing about aquascaping and planted aquariums that people don't talk about too often is that there's a lot more maintenance and trimming and stuff. Plants grow fast, relatively fast. So you get in there, you trim, you pull things out, you replant them, blah, 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 blah. So it's a little bit more hands-on. It's a lot more like gardening underwater as opposed to just setting up ornaments and letting them sit there and them not doing anything. So yeah.
Awesome. We are now over halfway through the stream, which means it's time for my new favorite segment. It is time for What Did Brian Learn This Week? Okay, so what did I learn this week? It's a pretty simple one. The past few weeks have been a little more in depth, kind of more obscure facts. This one is probably one you and a lot of people know, but I didn't know it, which means I learned it, which I thought was really cool. It is that goldfish have teeth. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. See, that seems so obvious, and now I'm getting laughed at.
Lots of fish have teeth.
I was reading that too. Goldfish is just, for me, the most surprising. It's such a common fish, and people, I don't think, would realize. The thing about the teeth, which I didn't know, which you probably all do, laugh at me if you will.
I won't. It was just such a cute thing to say.
What I thought was cool is because they're, I guess, in the throat,
yeah.
Right? They're not in the, if it nipped your finger, it wouldn't bite you because it's in the throat. It's for chewing and... Anyway, I have
they got weird mouths.
I have some visual aids that I'm going to put up here. So this is a photo of some of the teeth. What are they called? Pharyngeal teeth.
Pharyngeal.
Yeah. So those are some of the teeth that you'll see. There's some videos out there you can see of people who have collected them. I guess what will happen if you're looking at the right time, you can see the goldfish or whatever fish spit it out if it's come loose or fallen out, and they have teeth that replace these ones, from my understanding and my very brief research. So I thought that was really, really neat, something I didn't expect. It looks kind of freaky. So anyway, I just thought that would be a cool fact this week, something I read and went, whoa!
I got a really cool little factoid based right on this.
Okay.
So moray eels have a set of pharyngeal jaws at the back of their throat. And what they do is when they bite prey, so they'll bite a prey item, okay? And they'll actually have this second set. I'm going to try to show this. So they bite on something, and they have this second set of jaws at the back of their throat that come up and grab it as they swallow, and it drags it down their throat, which is really weird. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe I read somewhere that for the Aliens movie franchise, the aliens have a pharyngeal set of jaws that pop out of their mouth that looks like a tongue.
It's terrifying.
That was based on, if I'm remembering this correctly, the pharyngeal jaws of a moray eel. So people thought that was like this weird, gnarly friggin' alien thing that you would never expect to happen in nature, but in actual fact,
that exists on this planet.
Every moray eel's got that in their throat. They've got pharyngeal jaws.
That is slightly terrifying. Very cool, but also scary. Very cool. Anyway, that was it. A quick little fact before we move on to more questions.
Sweet.
So we'll see what I learned next week. I just don't know.
I think that was a good one. I bet you most people don't know that lots of fish have teeth in their jaws or in their throats, or some teeth that actually start at the front of their mouths and move all the way down to the back. So they'll have a set of teeth up front, plus they'll have ones on the tongue. They have teeth on their tongue. Many fish have teeth on their tongue.
That's nuts.
And then all the way down the throat. It's to help pull food down, especially predatory fish will often have teeth on the tongue and stuff like that. And then there's weird fish like pacu who have human teeth essentially, which is disgusting.
Yeah, freaky.
It's just weird to look at.
Yeah.
You don't expect a fish to smile at you and actually have like what looks like people teeth.
Right. That's pretty freaky.
Tangent. Anyways,
very cool. So again, any cool facts that you guys might know, you've read something cool this week that I probably don't know, which is a lot. Feel free to email those to me at brian@bigalz.com, and I'd love to read them during these streams as well, because if I learned it, I can read it. So send it on my way, and we'll see what cool facts you guys have. Next up, we have a question about minnows.
Sure.
How can you tell if a minnow is pregnant?
I would guess that it gets all bloated right in the pregnant area.
Okay.
I know that's a really weird answer. I would expect it's in this exact same way that I would see most fish who are carrying eggs or full of eggs, egg laden, if you will, females will get rounder in the belly and towards the bum area. It's not a cloaca for fish. It's something else, and I just can't remember what it is. But they're all-purpose hole orifice.
Nice. What's a good cure for blackbeard / hair algae that doesn't require removing plants or using bleach?
My favorite cure is a double dose of Seachem Flourish XL. I urge you to read up various ways in which you can do that. But that's my favorite. You can also, depending, do peroxide dips, I believe. But I've double dosed Seachem Flourish XL multiple times to cure various algae infestations, and it does a very good job. So that's what I would suggest. But before you go ahead and just do that blindly, look it up on Google, and you will see there are many articles on how you can do that safely. Just follow one of them, and heed my warning. If you do it wrong, things can go badly. So, yeah.
Okay, next up, I want to remove the hood from my tank and was wondering what clip-on type LED light you may recommend. Do you think it would be ugly? It is not a rimless tank.
I don't think it will be ugly. In fact, most aquariums that I've had over the years that had a like your standard black trim on the tank, I've opted out of using a full hood and used a glass top with pick a light strip. Back in the day, it was fluorescent light strips. Then I did power compact light strips. Then it was high output T5 light strips. And now I do LED light strips. I almost never use a full hood. I personally just don't like plastic on the tank. I'd rather just have glass across the top. To me, that's visually better and gives me a lot more options for lighting, because a lot of the time when you put a hood on, like a full hood on a tank, you've got the light that fits that hood and that's it. So yeah, any LED you want. It doesn't even have to clip on if you put a glass top on the tank. Just stick it right on there. I'm a big fan of Current USA. If you want to, they have mounting brackets that you can stick their light fixtures on. I used one on the low-tech Planet Tank build that we did. But if you want to like keep it even more simple, you can even use like the Aquarium Masters LEDs that we carry. They're really basic and they do a pretty good job. Aquatic Life also has a really neat fixture with a built-in timer at a really good price actually, and they're the Edge LED light fixtures, I believe they're called. Aquatic Life Edge. I really like them too. Aquatic Life has amazing products as well. Always been a really big fan of their stuff. So yeah.
Cool, look those up. Next up, there's two people asking a question fairly similar, so I'll get you to kind of answer both, I guess.
Cool.
Purigen versus carbon and why? I've used both and enjoy the fact that I can replenish Purigen, and can I keep Purigen and carbon together in the filter?
Purigen versus carbon and why? I would say for like my everyday stuff, I would probably just have, like if I was going to just keep something in a filter all the time, probably Purigen. It's got a pretty wide range of what it's going to haul out, and the fact that it's regenerative makes it a lot more economic to work with in that way. I like the fact that it's less wasteful. Carbon's a natural, like charcoal in general is natural, so I don't feel bad throwing it out because it's not going to have an issue with decomposition. But carbon's life is so much shorter that you end up going through more of it. So in that regard, I would say Purigen, just because my own preference. But if I'm just trying to clear up like tannins and stuff in water, I'll use carbon because it'll do it, in my opinion, faster, better, and than Purigen will. And I can just chuck it after and I'm not thinking about it. And what was the second one? Can I keep Purigen and carbon together in the filter? Absolutely. You can. Purigen will need to go in, if it's in its own pouch, you bought the little pouches of it. I think they're 100 ml pouches, maybe. I don't remember. But they come in pouches. You're laughing. You just throw it in. It doesn't matter. They're not gonna battle each other if that's what you're worried about. But carbon can go in a much more porous bag, whereas in Purigen is so tiny, you have to use Seachem's The Bag to contain it properly. So just don't, I wouldn't mix Purigen and carbon in the same bag. As long as it's separate, they can both go in the filter. The other thing is you're going to want to be able to regenerate your purigen. If you put carbon in with it, you can't really do that effectively. There you go.
Coolio. There is a slime/mucus-like substance in my cycling saltwater tank. Your support team said it is a bacterial bloom. I heard it can also be from air fresheners. Should I remove the slime?
There is lots of different things that can show up in a saltwater tank that look like slime. So without visually seeing it myself, it's very difficult for me to say. If it is white fluffiness, it could be bacterial. It could be Lyngbia algae. Lyngbia is something that shows up. It starts off looking pretty fluffy and clear or whitish. It's got a slightly tan or brown hue to it, and it can get super long and disgusting, and I've dealt with it on cycling tanks, especially tanks that I've cycled that utilize dry base rock like Marco rock. So if it's Lyngbia algae, yeah, I would take whatever it is, I would pull it out as much of it as I can by hand and just throw it in the garbage. Get rid of it. It's not going to be a bacteria that I think would be, you know, useful in keeping around. I don't think it's going to be the kind of bacteria that's going to be aiding in the nitrogen cycle or anything like that, like aerobic bacteria. I think it's probably just some sort of algae or bacterial bloom that you're going to want to get out of there. Air fresheners, I can't say whether or not an air freshener, like an aerosol air freshener or something like that, getting into the water would turn into jelly. I'm very skeptical of that. But I can't say it's impossible because I honestly just don't know. I've never heard of that before. But yes, either way you can take it out. You're not going to damage anything by removing it.
Awesome. Will a mono shrimp help reduce hair algae?
Yes. Amano shrimp are fantastic algae eaters. Hair algae, all kinds.
Cool. I have a 45-gallon freshwater that I just can't cycle. I'm a newbie. Welcome to the hobby, though. I'm a newbie and made the mistake of stocking it before it cycled. It's been 8 weeks and just keep getting ammonia of 0.5 to 1.0. No nitrates and no nitrites/nitrates.
Have you added any sort of bacterial additives to it? If you haven't, Seachem Stability or the Big Al's Biosupport, something to that effect would really help start getting that bacteria in the tank. Since it's already full of fish, what I would actually suggest as a bacterial additive would be ATM Colony, because it is a bottle of live bacteria. It's not dormant bacteria that then becomes live after being added and goes from there. It's live bacteria. You dump it in the tank, it starts working right away. So get a bottle of ATM Colony, dump that in the tank. They're basically sold in amounts with how many gallons they treat. So like 40 gallons, 80 gallons, 120, something like that. But get the bottle size that's appropriate for you, dump it in there, get that bacteria going. That's going to be probably your fastest way at this point. Yeah, because you want that tank to cycle. Fish living in ammonia is not good for them. Even small amounts, it's just not great. So the sooner you can get that going, the better.
Is it possible to have more than one centerpiece fish?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You could have literally a tank with 2 schools of different types of neons, and they are like black neons and cardinals. And they are both centerpiece fish because they are the only 2 types of fish in that tank, and you have them in equal numbers. Awesome. I know that's probably not what you mean. But yeah, no, it's centerpiece fish. It really comes down to in my opinion, it's the tank, the fish you built the tank around. So if you're keeping like a large cichlid, everything in the tank is designed or set up in a way that's mindfully thought about that cichlid and how that cichlid's going to want to live in that system. And then you add other fish to the system that will live harmoniously with it. Whatever that main fish was, that's essentially it. If you're doing a biotope tank or something, then every fish you put in there could be your, centerpiece fish, because you're putting things, you set up a space that you're putting fish that would technically live together anyways in that space. And then it's all just one big showpiece anyway, sorry.
What's the safest way to move a live aquarium in case you've been dumb enough not to put a foam mat under it, but put it directly onto the cupboard?
What? Say that one more time.
What's the best way to move a live aquarium, especially if you've been dumb enough not to put a foam mat under it?
So you want to take the tank off to put a mat down and put it back on.
I'm going to assume that's what they mean. It's not that clear. Just they said they didn't put one under and they want to move it.
You got to drain the tank. Like this, the only way to do this safely is drain the tank of all of the water if you can, and put the fish in separate containers, buckets, move the system, and then put it all back in. That's the safest way to do it. My issue with moving tanks that have water in them, and especially the larger it gets, the harder it gets, is that water as a fluid likes to move. So if you tilt the tank a little bit while you're moving it, all that water, whatever's left, sloshes to one side, and all of a sudden you have a lot of weight on one side of the tank. That kind of thing could potentially break the panes of glass, depending on how much water is in the tank. Worse off, it can throw you off balance. You could hurt yourself carrying the tank because it's heavy and things are moving around. You could drop the tank at that point and crack it. There's all kinds of issues you could run into. The safest thing is get some Rubbermaid Brute containers, unload the water into those containers, unload the fish into those containers, move the tank, and then fill it back up and move the fish back in. Yeah.
How long does it take for Platy Fry to get big enough to put them in a community tank?
I think within 2 months, those fish are going to be well big enough to go into a tank. Just keep them well fed, and you'll notice they're going to grow pretty quick. I think you'll probably get them up to a reasonable size within the first 30 days, and then after that is gravy.
Sweet. What tank mates for a rainbow shark?
Other really mean sharks. Cichlids. Something that's going to be able to fight off a rainbow shark. I was talking about this earlier. Ruby sharks, rainbow sharks, black,
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Redfin black shark, whatever they call it these days. They are mean fish. So I don't like... It's hard to give a recommendation of what's going to go in with it. You need other fish reasonably the same size that are going to have no issue standing their ground. Because those fish will probably try to harass them, and cichlids are pretty good at harassing back.
Next up, is a 70-gallon big enough for a redtail shark?
Yeah.
I love your commitment to that answer.
Yeah. No, technically it is. I'm just like, what else is in the tank? It might change the answer. No, it is. Yeah. 70 gallons is big enough for a redtail shark. A redtail catfish, not so much. But a redtail shark, yeah.
All right, cool. How can I destroy calcium buildup on the aquarium?
Calcium buildup. There's a few ways you can do it. If it's on the plastic parts of the tank, like the trim and stuff, what I usually suggest is grabbing a paper towel, soaking it in some vinegar, squeezing it out, and just laying it on. You don't want the vinegar dripping into the tank because it'll affect the pH, but if you just lay it on there, it'll help dissolve the calcium. If it's inside on the glass, get a nice flat razor and use the razor to take it off. It works really well on glass.
Very good. Next question, please. Do you recommend raising your own brine shrimp for food?
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. It's like a cool little science project. Nutritionally, it's great for the fish because whatever you're feeding the brine shrimp is going to translate directly to what's going to the fish. So you're essentially gut loading the brine shrimp. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's great. It's a great project. It's a lot of fun, and it'll benefit your fish. Yes, I recommend.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's see. We're getting a lot of love here. That's cool. Let's see a question.
I saw the one about if I'll ever show my aquarium.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah. And I mean,
yeah.
Technically, all our videos are your aquariums.
Yeah.
They're all at your house.
Yeah.
So technically, yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't have a lot of tanks right now.
Yeah, we're still in this weird transition period where we got all the stuff we need, and we're just sort of like getting everything prepped and ready for future videos, which we have a ton coming.
Yeah.
But there's only like a couple functioning tanks at your house.
Yeah. Well, right now the only tank, well, there's two. I actually have a saltwater tank running at the house that we've used for some very specific videos.
Yeah.
It was a build that was done extremely quickly, under extreme duress of my psyche. But it's not something I wanted to show you guys only because it's not like I want to do builds with you guys. I want to, get something started right from the beginning, have you on the journey with me through it and see the outcome, because that's where I think most of the learning comes in, most of the actual learning experiences. So right now, the low-tech planet tank's up and running. We'll add fish to that soon. That's the only tank I can really show you guys. But there are more tanks we're setting up. So we've got a quarantine system that's going to get set up at some point. We've got another high-tech planet tank that's going to get set up at some point. We've got some other that we're going to get set up.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Oh, yeah.
So, there's another build that's coming up. So you guys are going to see lots of tanks. It's just we went from a place where I had lots of tanks already.
Yeah.
So going through them all was easy to now
Starting
I have no
fresh
tanks, so we're
and-
starting
yeah.
over. And the process of building a tank and filming it all really slows it down. Otherwise, I'd probably have 6 tanks running already.
Yeah, we have a lot of other content like top 10 videos, top 5 videos, all kinds of other stuff we're also putting out. So it really does seem to take a while to get everything running, but stay tuned.
There is no
so much.
tank that I will forbid you guys from seeing. You will. You know what? Next time we'll show you. We'll do a quick video on the saltwater tank that we did for a specific set of videos.
Yeah.
Once we know we've got the go ahead. I don't want to.
Yeah, I think
We got to wait.
figure out the logistics of it.
Yeah, but I'll show you guys at some point.
Cool. This is sort of a question to everyone, but I'll ask you too.
Cool.
What's everyone's opinion on the upcoming changes to the hobby where you will need to obtain a prescription from a veterinarian to purchase any medications?
I'm not entirely sure that's going to go through if it hasn't already. It's insanely impractical for a lot of reasons. The idea of transporting a fish to a veterinarian is like where I live, for instance, that would be ridiculous. First off, you need to go to a specific fish vet. Otherwise, they don't really know what they're looking at. And that's not a stab at vets. That's like, you wouldn't want your family doctor doing your heart surgery. Not unless they were also a trained heart surgeon. So they got to know what they're looking at. So I think it's problematic in that regard. Transporting fish can be very dangerous for the fish. Temperature changes can be dangerous for fish. It's not practical. That's what I'm going to say. It's not practical. I understand that there is a level of safety that they're trying to, I don't know if it's misguided or not, but certain medications can be dangerous. If certain people are using certain medications for things they're not supposed to be used for, or if people are taking pet grade medications that aren't exactly the same, so on and so forth, it can be dangerous. And I know regulating these things is important pitched to us specifically as important for safety reasons. But I think it is also just up to us as people not to be stupid.
Yeah. Number one.
So I think it's not awesome. That's the long and short of it. It's not awesome. But if that's the way they go, that's the way they go. All we can do is voice our opinions to our, various forms of government about how we feel about these kinds of things. And hopefully they don't pass. And if they do, we just live with it.
Yep. All right, so we are pretty much out of racetrack here. Do you want to just do a few lightning round questions? That flew by quick.
That did go by very quick.
Yeah,
yes. Let's do like 5 questions.
All right, and there's some here that you've answered before, so just give like your basic answer for
Sure.
it. New to the hobby, you guys are awesome. Thank you. It looks like some newly introduced neon tetras have developed ick. What's the best treatment you prefer for that? So many differing opinions online.
Raising the temperature for ick will help with the life cycle and speed it along. Your fish got ick for a reason. You got to find out why they got ick. So look into your water parameters. Also contact our support team and they can help work through the how they got ick thing with you and how to fix it. But usually with tetras and stuff, it can be tough, but you might want to medicate them or raise the temperature, so on and so forth.
Cool. And I've linked that support email again in the chat for you guys. Question, please. I bought ChemiPure Elite and it made my tank cloudier. I have a Tannins fish tank, but it made it cloudy on top of tea color, which I thought it would take out. I got Purigen.
Did you rinse the ChemiPure Elite first? Because it has ferric oxide in it, which is ferrous. Like it's like iron, right? So it's gonna have a dusty, iron-colored dust. You got to pre-rinse it. I'm pretty sure it says that on the package. That's probably what went in there. So just like a micron pad or something in the filter will help pull out any of that. And a flocculant, like a clarity.
Cool. I got a new thermometer. It's showing 100 Fahrenheit. What should I do? How can I bring the temperature down?
Turn your heater down? Is your room 100 degrees Fahrenheit? Something's up. That thermometer might not be reading right. Are your heaters?
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. We'll get back to this. They did wash it before they put it in the filter.
No idea then.
Okay, sorry. Back to the heater, back to the thermometer.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. It shouldn't cause your water to go cloudy.
Okay.
That sucks.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Yeah, we got that one ready. I think my zebra Danios are eating most of the food before the neon tetras can get a good meal. Advice on getting them both a chance to eat? Thanks.
Yeah, feed in 2 different spots. This happens. So what you can do is get a food that floats on the top. That'll occupy the zebra Danios. Then you can do this 2 ways. If let's say you're using flake. Take flake, put it on the surface of the water. Zebra Danios are going to go for it right away. Take more flake in your hands, put them underwater, and then kind of crush it under the water, and the neon tetras can kind of go to that. Sometimes the only way you can get around this is by occupying the other fish. So feeding in 2 spots will help.
Awesome. Okay, how many fish can I have in a 30-gallon tank, including all the decorations?
That number will change dramatically depending on the size of the fish you put in. As much as 30 or more, and as few as 1. That's the honest answer.
All right. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for this week's Q&A. It never seems like enough time.
It always feels short.
It's never enough time, but unfortunately, that's why we do it every single week, so we can get to your questions. I saw a few people not too pleased that we couldn't get to their question, but we do our best. My advice, show up at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually, if you show up right at 1 o'clock, even a minute or 2 earlier, get your question in the chat. It's going to be one of our first ones we get to.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to do it.
Early bird gets the worm, so they say.
Indeed, it is true. The legends are true. And also, again, if we don't get to your question and it's a really important question that you have, you can always email our support team, support@bigelspets.com, and ask them anytime. You can reach out to us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. We have Instagram. Comment on some of our YouTube videos, and we'll try and get back to you there as well. So there's a ton of ways that you can get your question answered with us if we're not able to get to it in the particular live stream.
Including next week.
Yeah. Always show up next week. Again, show up next week at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Put your question in the chat and we'll get to it. With that said, a quick worthy mention. There's only 4 days left, so I'm going to mention it for anyone who might be in the market for a new aquarium heater. We do currently have a 20% deal on aquarium heaters right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I've just linked it in the chat, the link for it. So click on the link, check it out, see if any of them meet your fancy. 20% off.
It's a good time to grab a cobalt heater. Like the Neotherms, at 20% off. That's awesome. They're not a cheap heater, but they're really precise and have a very short variance in temperature. So great for sensitive fish too. But awesome. 20% off, wicked. Yeah, check it out there. Promo code GetWarm. Check that out. So I've linked that. Again, check out our newest React video. We really enjoy those ones, and I've linked that for you so you can check that out. And just keep an eye out for all the new content we have coming out. Join us again next week. I think that's pretty. Oh, Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I know they're putting a lot of stuff on. We have a team at the office that manages that, and they put a lot of really cool stuff on there. We upload behind-the-scenes videos and photos of our shoots a lot. So go to Instagram. I'll link that for you as well in the comments so you can see that. I guess that's pretty much all I have, man. What about you? Anything you want to add into this mess of, of an outro?
You got this on lock.
Woo! Right? I got like notes everywhere. Yeah. I'm ready to go.
You should see what this room looks like from this side of the camera. Ooh. It's just Post-it notes everywhere. Like somebody pulled a prank, but they all say things.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Brian's remembering things via Post-it note.
Crazy. Okay, with all that said, guys, thank you so much again for joining us. Thank you for supporting us. Share these, like these, and help us grow. And I guess, as always,
keep on tanking.